Okay. Are we able to see my screen yet? Avatar Meher Baba ki jai. Have I
Can't
started
see the
recording?
screen yet.
Yeah, I'm just doing that. Okay, so Jai Baba, let's get started with reading the 7 realities. Soma, you want to read?
Okay.
Okay. 1 second. Yeah. Okay. My computer is crawling. It's too long since I restarted it. I'm a lazy guy. See what I mean? Okay. Move.
The 7 realities.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now I'm getting number 5.
Hold on. Yeah. Good.
The 7 realities. I give no importance to creed, dogma, caste, or the performance of religious ceremonies and rites, but to the understanding of the following 7 realities. The only real existence is that of the one and the only God who is the self in every finite self. The only real love is the love for the infinite God, which arouses an intense longing to see, know, and become one with its truth. The only real sacrifice is that in which, in pursuance of this love, all things, body, mind, position, welfare, and even life itself are sacrificed. The only real renunciation is that which abandons, even in the midst of worldly duties, all selfish thoughts and desires. The only real knowledge is the knowledge that God is the inner dweller in good people and in so-called bad, in saint and in so-called sinner. The knowledge requires you to help all equally as circumstances demand without expectation of reward. When compelled to take part in a dispute, to act without the slightest trace of enmity or hatred, to try to make others happy with brotherly or sisterly feeling for each one, and to harm no one in thought, word, or deed, even those who harm you. Not even those who harm you.
Hold on. Yeah.
The only real control is the discipline of the senses to abstain from indulgences and low desires, which alone ensures absolute purity of character. The only real surrender is that in which poise is undisturbed by any adverse circumstances, and the individual, amidst every kind of hardship, is resigned with perfect calm to the will of God. Avatar Meher Baba ki jai.
Avatar Meher Baba ki jai. So with that, we'll just look at the board and see how we are doing. We've not done that in a while. So if you look at it, our progress is we've done with a significant portion of spirit and matter. We've done all of consciousness, all of samskara's theme, all of the God theme with yesterday, with the conclusion of God realization. We are yet to start on Maya, avatars, and perfect masters. Love, we've touched briefly. Ego, we are yet to start. We have concluded 2 parts related largely to marriage and sex, which appropriately we felt belong to reincarnation and karma. On the yoga, which is all the action part, we have finished action and inaction and selfless service. We are yet to do any of the meditation. So just so that you get a sense of where we are in our journey. In our actual reading progress, we are done with about 140 pages of the physical book, 145, I think. I'm not sure exactly. right? So that's just to give you the context. Any thoughts, any feedback, anything that we can do better? Oh, I'm alone in the call.
No, Karthik, we are doing well. My only request is that if anybody comes across any antonyms, like I was going through this discourse on stages of the path. So it's very interesting that they mentioned the word caged and freedom. So I think various places we get some insights. And one question I have, can I ask now or?
Yeah, you can ask now.
Yeah, see, there's a mention about India and China. I'm assuming it's like an analogy, but you know, would there be any some spiritual significance why Baba has compared India and China? This is
Is it in that travel example that he says? It's like if you imagine that you're going to China. Is that what you're
yes,
referring to?
yes, yes. In the
Yeah, yeah.
stages of the path, so
Yes, yes.
it might just be an analogy to know us that we're traveling in the path. But the intriguing thing is why India and China were taken out of 192 or 200 countries.
I think one
Maybe
is
his
obvious. India is obvious. I don't know about China. Sanjay, go ahead.
is the emergence of the Orient, maybe in the future. Maybe the
That's a
indication.
good one. Yeah, could be. This the supremacy or more power to the Orient, probably.
Jai
Is
Baba, I
that of
think that,
significance?
what I could see is India and China, as Sanjay just put, Oriental, we have been there for thousands of years. I mean, if you look at the Indian civilization with all the different yugas, Satyug, Treta Yug, Dwapara Yug, with Rama, Krishna, Buddha, and all that. And if you look at the West, the American continent, North America especially, was basically inhabited by American Indians who lived with nature. There were no horses even then. The Spanish introduced horses in America. And from the 14th, 15th century and all the atrocities that happened when the European invaded, America, and we've seen the situation now. And typically, I think if you look at Roman times, of course, Judaism was there in Europe, Jerusalem or whatever. You don't know much about the history. But what I have understood about this whole divine theme, is that this is all like a grand design, Like even in India, we are all from different states, and each state, is defined by certain characteristics, certain personalities. That is one thing. That and second thing is Baba has talked about in reincarnation and karma, that the individual soul has to go through many cycles, human cycles, and has to be born in the east or in the west as a man or as a woman in different cycles of time. And we will also be imbibing the complexes, superiority, inferiority, equality complexes. So all this game of duality, ultimately it is a game of duality. So I think these are all just probably the divine theme of creation. It's a divine script. So there's no need to analyze, why it's like this or like that. That's the way it is.
Yeah,
I
agreed,
hope
Kama.
you're
Well,
not. I pretty much agree with you, Kama, and I hope you're not proved wrong because we don't know with Baba. he might have he might have planted something there, but I largely totally agree with you. I'm just pulling your leg.
uh, exactly, Karthik. I was just thinking about the any latent or hidden, you know.
We'll
Uh,
find out.
anyway, and
Ashok, I'm lost. Which exactly
of course,
sentence you are referring to? Which sentence are you referring to, Ashok?
So there
if
is
you
a
read,
reference to imagination in the plains, I think, correct? In the
Which chapter?
uh,
Do you know?
in the chapter stages of the path,
stages of the path.
I'll send the reference in the on Trello or on Telegram. I'll send a reference later on.
Hello. Yeah, that's fine then. So before we start, I'll just
Yeah,
make another plug for pearls. Yeah, go ahead, Sanjay. You want to say something?
sorry. I think there is also a reference that the India is the spiritual headquarters of the earth. So that's also a significant message from Baba. It's not the exact words, but something to this effect.
Yes, of course.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm also not able to recollect a reference, but either in a saying or in a book, he says that India is the fountainhead and the headquarters of everything.
Yeah, I
Yes.
think I found it.
And all perfect masters, all avatars have a link with India.
Yeah, I found that reference what Ashok is talking about. It is in the intermediate stages on path or creations of imagination. What changes is not the self, but its idea of what it is. Suppose in a daydream or fantasy, you imagine yourself to be in China while your body is actually in India. When the fantasy comes to an end, you realize that your body is actually not in China but in India. From the subjective point of view, this is like returning from China to India. In the same way, gradual non identification with the body and progressive identification with the oversoul is comparable to the actual traversing of the path, though, in fact, the different intermediate stages on the path are all equally creations of the play of imagination. So here we have to give importance to the imagination. And Baba took just an example of China. I don't think we need to worry
Correct.
about why Baba picked up China. Why not Sri Lanka or some other country? I don't think that's important.
Agreed.
Agreed.
Okay, quick plug for Pearls before we go ahead. So I've been sharing audio files. They're pretty much studio quality of Baba stories, messages, and extracts from books. Right? There's all kinds of stuff. I have hundreds of files, so I'll keep sharing one a day as far as. And I hope I remember to do that religiously. What I request is please listen to them. And I think these are not more than 5-6 minutes. So find that time during the day and listen to it. It's a good way of me time and also more importantly, me oils time, me Baba time, whatever, right? So make sure you listen to it every day. And I wanted to give you some insight on how that came to happen. So in Sampath Iyengar's family, there is, I think the grandson was Mehernath in Chennai, and he was obviously a very deep Baba lover, and then had done a lot of work in collecting Baba's messages and organizing them in handwritten manuscript, right? And he had given that name Pearls, and his daughter Meera and I think Colonel Chibber, both of them worked on trying to convert this to audio to make it reach a larger audience. And I think this is one such attempt to get it to a larger audience. I'm thinking of also posting it on SoundCloud or some service. I need to research what's the best way of getting it to more and more people. But meanwhile, after listening to it every day, feel free to serialize it and share it in other groups that you belong to on in the Baba communities, just so that it reaches a wider audience. And I think audios are a very non-intrusive, easy way of getting to people. Podcasts are really getting very popular. On that very note, I will segue to the second point that I wanted to make, which is I'm thinking that maybe we can even upload our recordings in apart from the video, which can be useful because the text is visible. I'm considering trying to extract the audio separately from our Saturday Sunday conversations and post that separately because for those that just want to listen and follow it using a physical book, there you go, you can use the audio, right? So maybe that's something I have to think about and work about. If anybody wants to volunteer to do that, feel free, we can talk about that offline. So with that, I will start reading On physical page 146, the next chapter we read is True Discipleship. Anyway, I should have paused for comments. Any comments, feedback on those 2 points, guys?
It's a great initiative.
Cool. So think of any way of the audio, service to put it up online. So you think there'll be feedback? I mean, there'll be good response to, or at least some people will be interested in the audio file, even for the recordings on our meetings.
Definitely.
Okay.
I think so. It'll be wonderful.
Okay, so we'll try to do that. I don't know whether YouTube is the place. Maybe SoundCloud or something. I'll figure it out and come back. Or if somebody does it, please let me know. Okay, with that, let's continue the journey. As I said, 146, True Discipleship. Subtitle, Avatar Meher Baba Ki Jai, Discipleship, a Vital Bond. When an aspirant becomes voluntarily affiliated with a master, he is said to have become a disciple. But if this affiliation is merely formal, it does not constitute true discipleship. The relationship between disciple and master is utterly different, for example, from the legal relations that create rights and liabilities through verbal transactions or formal agreements. Discipleship is one of the fundamental features that characterize the life of the advanced aspirant, and it does not come into existence through any artificial procedure. It arises out of the basic laws of spiritual life. It is therefore much more significant than the mundane relations that arise within the context of ordinary social life.
Somebody
It
needs to
arises,
mute.
yeah, I did it. It arises out of the basic laws of spiritual life. It is therefore much more significant than the mundane relations that arise within the context of ordinary life, ordinary social life, as a result of incidental associations or temporary contracts. Many of these mundane relations do not enter into the spiritual fabric of the life of the aspirant, but remain superficially attached to his being.
I got a question here.
Sure.
So he's talking about disciple and master of spiritual journey, right? There's some lot of mundane studentship too, for the mundane educational purpose and other things. Why did he bring up these legal relationships here? Which I'm not able to think. Where does this legal relationship occur in a spiritual connection between a master and a disciple?
Ravi, I think it's just that the bond, the discipleship bond is way beyond any legal contract or legal relationship which we have in normal, commercial, transactions, or which is the verbal transactions or verbal uh, that create rights and liabilities through verbal transactions or formal agreements. So it is way beyond our normal, usual, transactions or interactions. It's way beyond that. It is so it is more
Yeah,
of
it is beyond the cause and the effect actually, because between the two parties there has to be a agreement that I give you this and then give me back this, some kind of a thing, whether it is buying something or a promise of doing something. In this kind of relationship, even this doesn't exist actually. It is a complete surrender. I think he's just trying to explain us the way we understand relationships in the world.
Yeah, I just want to add one more line. That I think the important line is it arises out of the basic laws of spiritual life. And so we've been saying that there is a difference between spirit and matter. So it's more about the spiritual aspect and not about the material world. Is all I can think of right now.
Oh.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. Jeba.
Yeah,
So I think,
yeah.
go
Yeah.
ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think what Ashok said is, the last line he said is correct. What we are looking at is number one is it is just an analogy that Baba is using about the transactional relationship we have in our material life. And as Sanjay said, it's a give and take. And also that, the spiritual life, when you are having a relationship with a perfect master, there's a difference between following somebody and actually being a true disciple. What I've understood is a true disciple is somebody who has been searching for a guru or master and stopped seeking. And we know that the teacher comes when the student is ready. So we are all in that boat where Baba has actually chosen us to be his disciple. Now it's up to us how we follow his awakenings or messages, number one. And number two is true discipleship. Also, later Baba reveals that once you are hooked to a particular teacher, you have both the intellectual conviction as well as the spiritual wisdom and the experiential conviction that, yes, I have found my master, the spiritual mentor. One should never get distracted to any other master or anything like that. You have to focus completely on that particular teacher or perfect master. That is true discipleship. Hey, Baba.
Yeah. I think the only point I wanted to make, of course, I agree entirely with what Kama said and Ashok said. I think in the phenomenal world, the most tight relations are legally enforceable. So probably made a comparison there, but there's no comparison to what a disciple guru disciple master relationship in the spiritual realm. Right. So with that, let me continue. Thus, it is not of any great consequence whether you purchase a thing from one shopkeeper or another, as long as you pay the price for it. And it is immaterial whether you travel by one ship or another, so long as you arrive at your destination. Even such transactions are no doubt inwardly determined by sanskaric ties and karmic laws, and therefore are not entirely devoid of spiritual significance. But these relations are in their very nature provisional and superficial, and in no way comparable to the vital bond of discipleship, which gives substance and direction to the life of the aspirant. Love constitutes the core of discipleship. The relationship between perfect master and disciple is an inevitable outcome of intrinsic conditions in the life of the aspirant. It is primarily a relationship between the lover and his divine beloved. From the spiritual point of view, it is the most important relationship into which a person can enter. The love that constitutes the core of discipleship stands by itself among the different types of love that prevail in ordinary social relations. Mundane love is an interplay between two centers of the God unconscious, whereas the love implied in discipleship is the love of the God unconscious for the God conscious. Everyone is God, but some are unconscious of their divinity, some are partly conscious of their divinity, and a few are fully God conscious. Those who are unconscious of their divinity can have no idea of the God state. They are only conscious of the body state. In order for them to inherit the God state, they have to love, worship, and be guided by the Master who is constantly dwelling in the God state.
Jay Baba, I have a question here.
Sure.
I have a question for the forum that here it says, from the spiritual point of view, it is the most important relationship into which a person can enter. And this primary relationship is between the lover and the beloved. So the question here is, we are all householders, and so people say, like, hey, you know what? We are always trying to figure out our relationship with our family, especially family, parents, children, and so on. You know, so how do we interpret this now? If a situation comes where you have to make a decision between, for example, in a lot of Baba families or a lot of families, one individual is a Baba lover and the other rest of the family are basically, they follow the tradition, the family deity and so on. Now, there is always this emotional blackmail, hey, you know what, we are all working on a particular deity, and this is our Ishta Devata, and you're following somebody else. So, how do we, relate this particular statement to a typical situation in day-to-day life? Hey, Baba.
Rama, can I just try to answer?
Go ahead, go
Uh,
ahead.
See, I think first of all, we are all interconnected with each other with our sanskaric and karmic ties. So, whether we are a parent or we are a child or whatever relation we have, the human relations are interlinked or intertwined because of our karmic and sanskaric ties. And further, the universal force, God Almighty, whatever name you call, is one. So, I mean, once you've come to Meher Baba, he's same equivalent to uh, God by whatever name you call. So I think once you come to Baba, you have a complete surrender. I think that's from the seven realities, and that's it. That's the answer. And even if somebody in your family says that, you have to sort of explain it to him, and if he doesn't believe, that's his uh, choice. But I think we can just go ahead with what we do, because whether we put Baba's photo or you put any other photograph, Christ, Buddha, or in my case, Jain, all are one, is what I uh, firmly believe, and that is the answer.
And what if they tell you to get out and don't show your face again? We don't believe in you. So where
So
do you
be it.
draw the line?
When we have a firm conviction about Baba, we maintain that.
So walk out.
One, one, one good thing about Baba being a Baba lover is that there is no compulsion of a custom. If you put a Baba picture at home or you don't put, you can still be a Baba lover. You pray or you do not pray, you can still be a Baba lover. Whether you go to Mehrabad or whether you don't go to Mehrabad, you can still be a Baba lover in your heart. And that's what Baba is looking for. So in that terms, it is very helpful. Even if the rest of the family are not Baba lovers, but you can still keep loving Baba. And if you truly love Baba, all other avatars also you equally love. But in heart of heart, the etching is only on Baba's Baba, basically. So that's something which is possible. You don't have to say no. I have to do this. I have to. You can always make some kind of adjustments there actually, and still keep loving it. Jai Baba.
Good point. Good point.
Let me
Correct. The
tell my
pattern, the pattern you get is basically your sanskaric burden, right? So you might get you might be you might have the conviction and want to be a Baba lover, and you may be in a context where you're not able to do that comfortably. How you deal with that is personal, and there is no prescription. And like Sanjay said, the qualifying criteria of being a Baba lover is what Baba wants, right? It's very very personal. There is nothing that impacts the family, and there is no disqualification by doing things that
Or
you
not
want to
doing.
do with your family. No, yeah, no. Like
Yeah.
if your family feels comfortable going to Tirupati, feel free to go to Tirupati,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But heart of heart, you maintain your relationship and steadfast principles, right? I think that's
Yeah.
my point, and I think the context you get is basically your sanskar. You might have somebody who says get out. That's also part of what you are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's challenging. It's not easy, the question Kamaji asked.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, this is what I
Many of us
think,
might have gone through this.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead, Ravi.
I think there's a lot to do with the evolution of understanding, knowledge, as we are ignorant, whatever we do, we think that is the right thing. If I pray to God in the form of, let's say, Rama is the only God. Everybody should believe God in the form of Rama. That's it. If somebody else is praying to some Parsi man, not acceptable. He has to be in the form of Rama. The Rama name has to be written there. He has to have dhanus and the arrows, and you has to have Sita, Lakshmana. The picture has to be there. Then only you're praying to God. Otherwise, you cannot put some Parsi man or Muslim or Christ, anybody else. That is a certain level of our understanding. But once we evolve to higher state of understanding, and our understanding is, Baba said, this is just a coat I'm wearing for you to see. And how we display that, it's all, as Karthik said, it's personal. How we remember God in our own mind is totally personal. Whether you have a photo before that or not, it's up to your comfort. If somebody having a protest at home, if I'm in that situation, I don't care to have a picture of Baba. I pray within myself. I won't even say out loudly, Baba, Baba, if that is going to bother somebody in my family. The main thing is that showing of love, our showing of love should be an example for them to understand that. See, once you have that love, that ego part of you should pray to my own God, that comes down. And when we don't have that fight for the God, that becomes insignificant. See, only when do we have problem? When they say Rama, I say Baba. Baba is great, Rama is great. Only with the two hands the sound comes. So when we don't play that role, I think it subsides. When you play, show that love, I think the love becomes prominent and slowly people change. If they change, that is up to them. Otherwise, that's okay. That's okay. My other half loves Venkateswar Swami. I help her to be devoted. She has some stotras that she does, some Sanskrit slokas she feels comfortable. I don't have patience to stand and do all this puja and everything and artis and all those things. I do my way. Every one of us have our own way of loving God. I just only insist, not insist, suggest to her, not advise, not insist, suggest to her. I did have love for the God. That's all I do. That's most important. Jai Baba.
Jai Baba. Jai Baba. I
Go
would
ahead,
like to
Nandita.
share, this dilemma about uh, loving Baba and then displaying your love. It becomes a practical problem because if you are not to begin with, I don't know. There's uh,
Mama, I think your mic is the problem. Are you connected on two devices? I muted you now. It was
yeah,
No.
bothering the call. Okay, anyway, go ahead now, Namita,
yeah.
and then we'll pick
So
Mama's call.
what I'm saying is, if you come and bring Baba on the table and your whole family has been devoted to maybe Shiva or whatever, so it is a little odd. They don't understand what happened to you suddenly, So you have to deal with it. Then when you imbibe Baba's teaching in your life, like for example, my sisters, they want to gossip about someone, and I then they'll say, oh no, she listens to that Baba. We can't talk to her about gossip. Like they begin to change once they understand where you're coming from. Another thing is also public image. You see, on one side, singing Baba's praise. That's my way of showing devotion. But on the other side, I'm also a little public figure. Now, I also have to maintain that discretion because people who understand me as a publisher and an editor or whatever, they don't understand Baba. And I have to make a distinction that when I am talking about Baba on a certain forum, it is to the audience who understand and feel for Baba. That's the Baba family. People at large, unless it's a quote which can affect their lives, like don't worry, be happy, those kind of broad based concepts, it's easier to share with them. But little nitty gritties which are inclusive, it's only known to Baba family. That is something I try not to share with everyone. So that's how I uh, get by. But it's a bias, On the other side, they don't understand because Baba is not as well known to everybody as maybe other avatars or gurus. Or so they say, "Oh, what happened to you suddenly?" And then you have to deal with it, and then you don't need to explain because your actions, your behavior, when you change your outlook, how you evolve as a person, they know something is changing. So e- even at my home, because I sing loudly, my children, my daughter doesn't take very well to it, and she says, "Oh, you don't let us sleep, this and that." So then I had to move my Baba space to a room where the sound was protected. So you do need to make adjustments for the family. Um, and then whenever their time is right, they will join the river, or else they'll find another stream. But in the heart of hearts, what you're doing is making a change in the way you are conducting yourself and how you are connected to your spiritual master. Um, yeah, that's my 2 cents worth. Yeah, Baba.
Very good points. Mama, is your audio better? You wanted to say something?
I just opened my audio right now, but I
Yeah,
don't
now
know.
it's fine. No, it was unmuted earlier, and that
Ah,
was bothering the call. Now go ahead.
there are two, three issues which I would like to tell here. One is personally at our own level, we came into Baba late in our life. So we had our own set of, say, rules and regulations and also beliefs and God to surrender to or things like that. In my own personal case, it is Krishna. So I am unable to leave Krishna. But I think Baba accepts it because Krishna is another avatar of himself. So that way we have to gel certain things together. So in my place, I have lot of Krishna deity, the images and say small figures and all that, which I still keep with me. And with that, Baba is gelling with them, with small photos of Baba also. So I don't have a problem in that, or either Baba has allowed me to do like that. That is at my personal level. How do I say become a Baba lover and also retain? Because all my say study till now or understanding about God and concepts and all that has through Krishna or other say gurus like Sri Ram Krishna and things like that. So this background cannot be totally delinked and you become a de novo new sort of a species. But this has to evolve into something better, something more understanding, more say taking you nearer to the beloved, all that. So when we have the concept of unification, at my personal level, this is how I have progressed. But at the family level, I think there are a lot of issues. What is your status in the family also depends. So for me, being a senior in the family, people don't talk against what I do. But somehow I don't know whether they accept it or keep quiet or think over in their mind and then ignore what I do and all that. That is one aspect. if you are a youngster and you are into Baba and there are many seniors at family, there will be a different picture. So each one will have a different way of say assimilating Baba, and this fight has to go on. This sort of an adjustment will have to be at each individual level, I think. The third is when you are into Baba or real concepts as such, so these rituals that is practiced around becomes a irritating factor for you, but you will not be able to say advise others regarding those things very forcefully, because they have their own beliefs, they have their own way of say reaching God, and the established practices and all that. So there it is a bit of a difficulty how we manage and gel with the family. So that is a few points that has come to my mind, which goes through all the time. Hey Baba.
Mama, but you had a significant advantage that the others didn't have in this call, and that is you're single, okay?
Huh? I did.
So you had a significant advantage. In fact, two significant advantages over all of us.
Huh.
One is you were single, and second, you got into it when you were very senior and already respected as an elder, right? Obviously, many of us did not have that advantage on this call, but anyway, that's another matter. But I think I want to add only one point. Baba, by Baba is very difficult to bring into a conversation, because for a it's he's one who has said he is God. He's one who is he's anti anything that is formal religion, right? If he take he does not fit into what we are all used to, right? So in that sense, he makes it very difficult to talk about him to others. But then that is part of the challenge of being a Baba lover. So let's take it like that. I take it like that. So I try to introduce Baba where it is appropriate, like Namita said, and be sensitive of the audience every time, because it cannot be a one size fits all. And I think we just go from there. But I think I keep holding a higher ideal, and I keep failing. I don't know how successful I will be, but I think following Baba's ideals and being a Baba lover by definition, just the practice of that should make others come and ask you, hey, what change came of you? Who's your master? Why did this happen? That should be our ideal, right? See, and even if my spouse or my family acknowledges the changes that I have gone through and comes and tells me, I have seen a difference, and I think that difference is your master. Who's your master? That's a win. I think that's the way we should look
Jai
at it.
Baba. Jai Baba, it happens to me a lot of times. People who know me from earlier, they do see a lot of change in me, and they say, who have you been listening to? What happened? So that's something that, and another trivia. Baba is the only avatar with a mustache, and who wears
Yes.
suits. He's on tables with these white women drinking wine. So how do you explain divine with wine?
I didn't want to get into all of that. Yes, he makes it very difficult, right? So to
Yeah, so
go.
basically it's not about the physical. It is the internal metamorphosis that makes you godlike. Eventually, you know that
Yes.
you're God. So that's what he's emphasizing. If you wear orange robes or white clothes and you are evil from inside, then you are not godly or you're not following any religion. Our Baba says, eat anything, drink anything, but keep your intent, the content of your life, keep people in your heart, and be kind. So with that, the change is within you. From a caterpillar, you become a butterfly, and I think that's where uh, Baba says, I have not come here to teach, but to awaken. So that change, that awakening that happens in Baba's path, you can feel it yourself, and then that little heat people around you feel as well. And that's when your heart says, yes, this is the correct master. I'm so blessed that he found me. You feel that magnetism in his being, in his words, in everything you and you just settle, you are home. So there's nothing to prove to anyone anymore. Jai Baba.
Namita, you know who has mush in our group? Ashok and myself are the only two who have mustache.
I think you're starting with physical change before you
Me
internalize
too, me too, me too.
Me too moment.
Me too moment in our group. That's good.
I
All
have a
right,
beard.
Kama,
Does
have you
that count?
satisfied? Kama,
Jai
have you
Baba.
satisfied with all the answers?
No, before that, Soma. Go
So
ahead.
much.
Jai Baba, a very apt question and a wonderful discussion. And I think one little point that comes in the way is when you tell somebody he is Meher Baba, this name Baba in our country, because there are so many Babas, immediately I think it brings him down from the pedestal he is on. It's difficult to describe who is this
Yes.
Baba. So I think Baba stands in the way, which I have experienced personally.
And Avatar. So, all of that, it becomes very difficult to talk about.
Yeah,
Agree.
Avatar is very difficult to explain. For example, I have a Satyanarayan puja in my house every year, and last year for the first time, what I did was next to Vishnu and Lakshmi, I put Baba's photograph, and Baba's eyes attract people so piercing that I had a lot of people asking me, "Who is this gentleman over there?" I said, "He's my Baba. He's my God too."
That's
But
good, Soma. You're helping people to be aware of Meher Baba.
I'm sorry.
You're helping people to bring Baba's image to their attention.
Yes,
That's
yes,
very
Yeah.
good. Very good.
and
I think, yeah, sorry, continue, Somaji. Yeah.
so, and we get into this ritual of taking Baba's name all the time. I think in the month of February and March, when there was a little lull in the lockdown, I visited Tirupati, Shirdi, Mehrabad, Dwarka, Somnath, everywhere. And unconsciously, I found that within a few minutes, I'm standing maybe in front of another deity, maybe Krishna, but suddenly I find myself chanting Jai Baba, Jai Baba.
Oh, by the way, I do that all the time. Join the club. I do that all the time these days.
So it happens,
So I go to any temple. That's what I think about. So
I think
yeah.
it's a very, very wonderful question because I have also gone through this in my family. I remember when first time my husband told my daughter that your mother is with Meher Baba. Literally overnight a storm built up, and then she went and read about Baba almost the whole night. And then morning she said, "No, it's fine. You can worship him." So I think all
You are
of us.
licensed now to worship Baba, right?
Uh,
You are licensed now to
I'm
worship.
licensed now. Yes, yes, yes. I think it's in every family. Jai
Beautiful.
Baba.
That's a good question to bring out a lot of thoughts about that.
Can we have others also telling something?
Yeah.
What
Silent ones.
yeah.
Khalid, Ama, Sherry, Sunan.
All are silent.
Okay, I can speak a bit. I was fortunate to be in Baba family, and we didn't have friction inside the family, so that was the starting point. But like everybody else said, I've gone to temples, I've gone to churches, I've gone to mosques, and prayed to Baba everywhere. We do ritual prayers at home, which have not stopped. My grandfather used to say it not necessary, but sometimes he would also do ritual prayers like Shivratri or Janmashtami or something. Again, we pray to Baba. In between, there are some Krishna songs, this, that, but again, starting, ending with Baba. So life has been a little better for me in that sense.
Yeah.
So, Baba.
Rama, Khalid. Sherry, if you're there, is there. Okay.
Jay Baba, so sorry, Karthik, I heard your voice, but I guess I missed the question.
No,
If
no,
you
no, no.
can
So
repeat.
on this whole question of how we are dealing by being first generation Baba lovers in and especially in the context of spouse, family, and their reactions. So Mama wanted everybody to pitch in. So many have. So if you have some thoughts, please feel free. What you've been through. So it's a
Yes, I'm
digression, but
fighting.
worthy. Go ahead.
I am fighting. I'm struggling. It has not been easy. For me myself, it took time. As I told you, when Khalid introduced me to Baba in 2018, although I was influenced, but I was not a complete believer until 2020, until I went to Mehrabad. And then there were other things, you can call it miracles or whatever you can call it. But yeah, I did experience it and believed that yes, Baba is there. But when it comes to my spouse, family, and my parents in Kolkata, it has not been easy so far. But as Baba said, that your job is just to bring my name to the ears, and then I'll take care. So I left it to Baba instead of trying to influence or trying to convince. Jay Baba.
Yeah.
Sure. Great. Okay, so I think it was a provocative question, and I think it was a worthwhile
Jai
digression.
Baba.
Kama, yeah,
Yeah, Karthik Khalid, yeah.
sure, go ahead.
For
Go
me,
ahead.
it's like worshipping and loving are two different aspects of uh, my ways of showing what I'm feeling. When Baba says that do all your worldly duties, so amidst my worldly duties is to bring happiness in giving my consent to what brings happiness to the other members of the family. And in that, if it includes them worshipping another form of their interpretation of God, that's okay with me. And Baba also says, like, what I take it as, do not create or do not project a mockery of, even bowing down to me. In these hours of November 1955, as we were reading in This in Humanity, Baba had told us not even to, touch his feet or bow down to his feet, but to love him and keep him in his heart. So, going with what the other family members or other members of people that I know, let them do what they are doing. And as far as me loving Baba, it has nothing for me to, as worshipping Baba. So, worship and love for me are on two different pedestals. As such, I have not faced any issues, even though coming from a family which does not get into image recognition of God. But then again, married to a Hindu Brahmin family, you know, there also I respect, like, their worship patterns and their ways of inviting God into their life. So for me, that is a form of worship. And with Baba, for me, it's a way of love. So, in my opinion, I have yet not come across any conflict on this, whether at the family friend or friend's friend. In fact, during crisis, there are some of my friends who call me up and say that please communicate to Baba or ask Baba to help us. So subtly, even for those who are on a path of worship, maybe somewhere they do recognize, as Namita said, the difference in the individual's personality, aura, whatever it is. So even when you get a call from somebody on that subject, I take it like, the message has been passed on, and the love of Baba is slowly beginning to glow in other hearts also. Jai Baba.
Great.
It's nice,
Very
Khalid.
nice.
Nice.
Rama,
uh,
the silent.
Khalid's interpretation is very, very nice. I liked
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Jai Baba Mamaji.
Yeah.
Rama, your turn.
Mama, myself, or
Rama,
somebody.
Ramakrishna.
Okay.
Yeah, Karthik, I'm just listening. Hello, you able to hear me?
Yeah. Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. We can hear you.
Yeah, actually, you can go ahead, Karthik, because I just put my headphone and I will just come out, okay? I'm just
Okay,
listening
no
to you
problem.
all. Huh? Okay?
All right.
Okay. Sorry.
So, Pama, summary. You had the question, so what do you feel? This is a very vibrant conversation, but what's your comment and what's your reactions and what's your summary? Kama, are you there?
No. Kama wants to take rest. Kama wants to take rest today, so he just instigated us with this question and
provoked everybody and then went offline, huh?
Kama, are you there, Kama?
No.
We have been sweating for you, man, to give you an answer for your question. All our sweat is wasted.
Sounds like, looks like that.
Come. We will talk
No,
to
Jai
him.
Baba, I'm here only.
Oh my goodness.
And
I thought you were
thought
sleeping.
you guys were addressing Ramakrishna, So Kama Kori, because there is Ramakrishna, there is Mama, so there's a lot of confusion. So yeah, definitely. I just wanted to see how everybody responded to this, because this is a very practical question, that everybody faces. So especially if you're from a non-Baba family. So in that sense, I think it's a very, very unique process, how you do it. I think what somebody said was the best thing to do is to keep Baba in your heart. And I think Sanjay mentioned that keep that adjustment and balance between the family deity, the Ishta Devata. And of course, as Khalid said, the Islamic religion believes in the highest form of God, which is the formless aspect. I always keep asking who came first, the formless or the form? And I think from God Speaks, it's very clear that the formless state to be, eternal avataric infinite consciousness, was the first master in formless aspect. The second master is the avatar in form, which had to go through state to see. See, even Baba is the avatar, and all the other avatars had to go through, the same drop soul in different avataric forms initially had to go through evolution, reincarnation, and involution and realization, and had to be in state to see, which is the form. And Prophet Muhammad was basically in form. But I think the beauty about Islam religion is that it transcends the form to the formless. That is the beauty, and I can understand why somebody like Cat Stevens, the British artist, now people talk about Bob Dylan, but Cat Stevens was the first guy who adopted Islam. And recently I read about Sinead O'Connor, I'll send you that link. I didn't realize that she had converted to Islam. And I also know a family in Chennai. Her name is Arpana. She's actually German, was married to a Bengali, still married. She has a daughter, Amrita, who's half Bengali, half German. And this Amrita girl follows Islam. Mother follows Panduranga. Father lives in Munich. The mother and daughter lives in Adyar for the last 30, 35 years, So I think that that family to me is a perfect example of where the father is a Bharatanatyam dancer who definitely probably follows Krishna Rama. And then the wife who was brought up Christian, non-practicing, started with the Hare Krishna movement, then found her Ishta Devta through Panduranga. She's somebody who speaks Marathi, English, Sanskrit, Tamil, everything. She's a scholar of all the, what do I call the masters, the Jnaneshwar, Tukaram, the perfect masters of Maharashtra who started the Bhakti movement. And so it's going to be very, very customized depending on how each family accepts it or not. So I use the analogy of being, sorry if I'm, if I'm hurting anybody's feelings, but statistically, 10% of the population belongs to the LGBT community, right? Has been gay, bisexual, transsexual. Now there are many instances we have seen because now LGBT is considered, the lady who's now the head of NASCOM, she's considered, she's a part of the LGBT community. This is Menon or something, who's just become head of NASCOM, went to XLRI. Now there is an acceptance. And I think what we call as the closet gay, there are many families in India, actually, especially men, who are basically gay, but because of family pressures, marry and have children and keep their other life secret. So similarly, that is in the material life. You're all about the material body. So I think in a spiritual sense, I think depending on the family circumstances and how they approach it, if you want to maintain that family balance and harmony and happiness, then Baba is somebody who actually said, whatever religion you are born in, stick to it, basically. That was one of his very important messages that he didn't say you'd have to follow Babaism. He said you just focus on the avatar of your religion because all the avatars are saying the same thing about love and divine love. So that's my take on it, Jai Baba.
So, Kama, can we conclude that all are one? Is that a good way of, in one sentence?
I just see him dropping off. I don't know what happened.
Anyway, I think that's what I started with.
Yeah, I muted Mamaji's mic. So did you have to say something?
So sorry, Karthik. Sorry. So sorry, Mamaji. Also, I have to leave, but I have one question in my mind. If I can raise that question, please.
Sure, go ahead.
Say, as adults, whether it's parents, family, spouse, then it becomes a choice of others. But as a mother, when kids are around and with no intention that you're forcing that Babaism or Mer Baba to your kids, but when the kids are around with you, they also see that as a mother, you're worshipping or loving Baba. So there are times when my daughter also, says Jai Mer Baba or says, Papa, aap ye karoge na, main Mer Baba ko bol dungi. So that somehow, brings in the conflict. So where and how in that area, because if any one of y'all who are experienced here, who have younger kids, please share. How do we balance that? Because Kama was talking about balance. Because my child also goes to Gurdwara and knows that Vaheguru is also there. But yes, above all, Baba is there, and I'm not forcing this thought on her. It's just that what she's seeing me doing and she's accepting and using it. I know it's Baba's ways, but when it comes to family, there comes a conflict or argument. How do I handle that or balance that? Thank you, Jai Baba.
Sherry, if I can answer that. I think you just have to put Baba's name in the ear, and from the ear to the heart, Baba will do that. Even if you mention the name, that's good enough. And the acceptance will come from within, and Baba will drive that.
No, my question was not
that. The problem Shari is posing is a real problem for young adults who have children at home and also elders at home. So there will be, there can be some sort of a friction because the child is driven into areas where it wants to follow a mother, the elders at home do something different, which so this is a very practical problem. I don't have a solution, but I feel you should, for Sherry, keep Baba in your heart and go along in the family.
Jai Baba, thank you, Mamaji. That's what I'm doing. Thank you, Jai.
Yeah, I think the last thing we should do is impose, right? So forcing it is not surely the way. And having said that, it's a complicated issue and very contextual. So each one has to figure out what's the best way to handle it. Kama is now back. So you're doing something new to your mic, Mamaji, which is constantly sending some squeaks to all of us. So even when you're not speaking. So I don't know what's going wrong. No, you'll have to fix it I'm just telling you so that you can figure it out. That's all. So let's get back. Let's get back to the
on the Mandli Hall talks. There is a talk called Season of Love. So I'll try to send the link. That talks about this issue of how to love Baba in the most in the modern context, actually. So I'll send that. Jai Baba, and you can also try to find out. Yeah, Jai Baba.
Excellent. Thank you, Sanjay. So let's continue. So as I said, I think it started as a question, a provocative, personal-led question from Kama, but it has led to a vibrant discussion and more experience sharing, best practice sharing, whatever you call it. And I think we're not able to summarize anything here. Each one do what's best. Have Baba in your heart, of course, and then do what suits the context best, because relationships are more important. I mean, are important as well, right? So with that,
Karthik, is it better now?
Yeah, it's better now. So what did you do?
No, I plugged in my earphone. I was hearing live. Anyway, okay. I had a lot of issues with morning coming up. Okay.
Okay, perfect now. All right, great. So let's continue the read. I think it was a worthy digression, but let's get back to the read. Supreme Claim of the Master is the subtitle. The love that the aspirant has for the master is really the response evoked by the greater love the master has for the aspirant. It is to be placed above all other loves. Love for the master naturally comes, love for the master naturally becomes a central power in the life of the aspirant because he knows the master to be an embodiment and representation of infinite God. All his thoughts and aspirations therefore come to be woven around the personality of the master. The master thus has unquestioned supremacy among the claims recognized by the aspirant. And it is through the supremacy that the master becomes the focal point for the radiation of spiritual forces, which dispel all darkness, pluck out the sins of the heart, and initiate the aspirant into a life of freedom and truth consciousness. All love leads to master, as in the story of Majnun and Laila. The fundamental requisite for the candidate who would be a true disciple is an unquestioning love for the master. All the other streams of love ultimately join this great river of love for the master and disappear in it. This is illustrated by the story of Majnun and Laila. Majnun loved Laila so intensely that every moment of his life he was filled with thoughts about her. He could not eat, drink, or sleep without thinking of her, and all he wanted was Laila's happiness. He would gladly have seen her married to some other person if he felt it to be in her interest. and he would even have died for her husband if he had thought she would thereby be happy. The utter self-denial and sincerity of his love ultimately led him to his master. Every second of his life, Majnun thought not of himself, but of his beloved, and this lifted his love from the physical or intellectual level and made it spiritual. The spiritualization of his love led him to the divine beloved. Purification through love and surrender. The master is the divine beloved, and when the disciple meets his master, all that he has to do is to love him. For if the disciple loves the master out of the fullness of his heart, his final union with him is assured. He need not worry about the quality of his love. He should love in spite of his weaknesses and not tarry till he can purify his own heart. The master is the very source of purity, and to set one's heart on the master is the beginning of self-purification. When the disciple has wholehearted devotion for the master, he opens himself to the reception of the divine love that the master pours upon him. All his weaknesses are consumed in this fire of divine love, of which he thus becomes the recipient. If the disciple is to be free from all weaknesses and attain incorruptible and infinite purity, he has to dedicate his life to the master without any reservations or provisions. He must offer his weaknesses as well as his strength, his vices as well as his virtues. There should be no ifs and buts about his offering. His self-surrender must be so complete as to allow no room in his mind for even a shadow of any secret self-desire.
Karthik, I would like to bring in a point here. Love for the master plays major role. That's what we read. And another point that when Baoji was here, he was talking about what Baba said. It's recorded in Lord Meher as well as in some of the books Bao Culture wrote in the manifestation of the avatar is, let's say if some guru is fake guru and we have a disciple who is very sincere. As long as the disciple is sincere and he has got utmost love and faith, the disciple progresses upward. And of course, if the master is false one, he is going to go downward. But as long as the disciple has the trust and love, he progresses. The moment the disciple starts doubting the master, then his spiritual progress will go the other way, downward, and falls actually. He falls from wherever he progressed to somewhere lower stage. So the disciple's love for the master is very, very important. Trust plays a major role. Jai Baba.
Beautiful example and input. Yeah, thank you.
Jai Baba,
So, yeah,
one of the things that Baba has said is, I can't change your destiny. I can only give you inner strength. So the avatar of perfect master is basically like a PhD guide. You know, you're with the Nobel Prize winner under whom you're doing your, thesis or whatever. He's going to guide you. Same thing with the avatar, Of course, ultimately the avatar is the one who's going to give you removing the last sanskaras and take you to the seventh plane. But when you're progressing from the gross world to the subtle world to the mental world, veiled or unveiled, the aspirant has to make the effort, intense effort with infinite patience. Should not be looking for the goal, the longing, the desire to be united with God, because that is already in the process. It is like a patient who has been told to do certain therapeutic exercises. Now it depends on the intensity and dedication of the patient, how he does it, and how quickly he gets cured. The most important thing is he should have the right doctor to give him the right exercises to do the therapeutic exercises. So similarly, I think the work of the perfect master or avatar is the same, where the aspirant, or I would call the disciple, the true disciple, has to devote himself, completely, like the LOSs: love, obedience, surrender, sacrifice, complete surrender. And we have noticed during Baba's life with the Mandali how different Mandali members reacted differently or responded differently to Baba's orders. One example is Erich. He was requested by Baba to head the trust, okay, around the late 50s or something. And this was after Baba dropped his body. There's a whole lot of controversy on that. I'm not going to go into that. But I think Erich basically had devoted so much, he was a he was Peter, of course, like the Apostle Peter. He dedicated himself and he gave 100% to Baba. And he really didn't want to take any more responsibility. But I used to always ask myself, here is the avatar, Baba asking is one of his most important mandali, hey, dude, you got to run the show like. Now, according to the Baba messages, you're supposed to surrender. You say, yes, sir, like a slave. But on the other hand, when you look at Dr. Dawkins or Dr. Neelu, who are very scientifically trained, who are probably one of those mandali who are completely surrendered. They didn't question Baba. They didn't use their mind to analyze. So that's my observation. Jai Baba.
So, just a clarification: was Erich asked to take charge of the trust before Baba dropped his body, and he did not take it up?
According to my understanding, maybe Ravi knows better, but from my reading, when Baba was making the charter for Sufism Reoriented as well as the Meher Baba Trust later on, probably between 58 to 67, when I don't know the dates, and the trust went through a little bit of hiccup during the earlier years. The guy who took over, Kutumba Shastri, he transitioned to another dude. It's I can, that's another story which I can tell you later. But it's very interesting how this whole divine game worked. Maybe it was the divine purpose of Baba to make it like that. So I don't know. Jai Baba.
Yeah, couple of things here. I think when Baba was there, trust was not very active. They are all dedicated and they were just doing whatever Baba told them to do. And there were times Baba had to go to, Baba himself was the heading the trust, and Baba had to go to what is those municipal office to put some signature. He had to go there and wait in the outside. He went inside when he was called, and he had to put the signature and all those things he did as an avatar. And after Baba dropped the body, then Urich became the trust. What do you call that? Trust president. President, is that president or whatever the trust head. Yeah, that's what it is. But I don't know if Urich never declined to be president of the trust. And I don't remember to have heard he declined Baba's request or anything. Yeah, that was my thing. Other point I would like to say is Baba changes our destiny. How he changes is because if Baba is not involved, our destiny is going on in cycles, one life after the life, other life after the life. What happens is Baba installs this seed in our heart, and that seed becomes a tree of divine love. That divine love changes our destiny. But still, we have to go through all the karma, whatever we have to create it. And the karma also, all the sanskaras are also binding and non-binding. And all those non-binding perfect masters or avatar can flick it off. But those which are binding, we have to go through those experiences. Jai Baba. Another story, Kutumba Shastri what I was thinking, he was one of the trust members, and he had to fight with the other trust members. There was a court case, and he died before the finish of the court case. And I think it was all divinely planned. I was thinking, Baba created that situation for some unknown reason. Interesting story. But Kama, I would like to hear that story if you know details, Kudumba Sastri details. Jabab.
What I know is there was a chap, after Baba dropped his body, he came out of the woodwork and said that he called himself probably Sadhguru Meher, or God knows, I forget the name. He had a following. There were people, dedicated Baba lovers, who followed this guy. It is almost like a Sufism reoriented Murshida kind of situation, where he proclaimed that he met Baba in 1952, around that time, and Baba declared him to be a Sadguru. Okay.
Oh,
Then
is
he
he from
started
Andhra?
this. Who?
Is he from
Yes,
Andhra
absolutely.
Pradesh?
Yes, he's from Andhra Pradesh, and this guy was
Oh,
based in near,
Puchkal
Rajamundry.
Veer Raju.
I've been to his place,
Yeah,
right?
he is a Puchkal Veer Raju. He came to our house too before he proclaimed that he was a perfect master.
Right.
Yes,
So
yeah.
this dude, 70, 71, 72, somewhere around that time, declared himself. And I think Kudum Shastri unfortunately got involved with him. And then I met Kudum Shastri's son, who is one of the people heading that place, because that Sadguru passed away probably in the late 90s or whenever. They have like 1 lakh books. I have been to their ashram. It's near some of the places in Rajamundry that Baba had visited.
Mandapeta. Yep.
Mandapeta, right. So I don't want to digress into this, but it is a case study of how even disciples who have the perfect master in their life can get into spiritual delusion and get distracted and follow others. That is why that statement by Baba, Mera daman mat chodna, don't let go the coat. Pete Townshend has made a song in that album called Face Dances. Believe it, I didn't know this when I was listening to it. But later on, I realized, don't let go the coat. This is after Keith Moon, the drummer, died, and they had a new drummer from the Faces. Okay, listen to it. It's on the album called Face Dances. I'll send it to you. So don't let go the coat is a very, very important Baba statement. Once you are with him, you have to hold on to him under any circumstances, just like Upasni Maharaj told his disciples, you go to Baba, and later on I might be abusing him and doing, but don't let go the coat of Baba. So anyway, Jai Baba.
Great. Kama, you got to switch off your camera. We know you're wearing a yellow shirt.
You need to clean your ear next time you take a bath. You seem to be neglecting cleaning your ears,
Okay, I'm
especially
wearing
left
the shirt.
ear.
Don't worry, be happy. Okay.
Oh,
Left
really?
ear.
Nice. Nice. So we'll just continue and probably do a couple of paragraphs before we wrap up. Yeah. Value of faith is the next subtitle. Complete self-surrender and unquestioning love become possible when the disciple achieves unswerving faith in the master. Faith in the master
Can you
is
show
an
the Karthik? Can
Oh,
you
I'm
show?
sorry. Sorry. It got disconnected and I came back to the meeting. Value of faith is the subtitle. Complete self-surrender and unquestioning love become possible when the disciple achieves unswerving faith in the master. Faith in the master is an indispensable part of true discipleship. Once God is realized, there's no question of faith at all, just as there is no question of faith when a man knows himself to be a man. But till the state of realization is attained, the faith that the disciple places in the master is his most reliable guiding light and is comparable to the rudder of a ship. It is not correct to describe faith as being blind, for it is more like sight than like unrelieved ignorance. Nonetheless, Faith is short of direct experience until the aspirant realizes God for himself. I think this is an important line. It is not correct to describe faith as being blind, for it is not, for it is more like sight than unrelieved ignorance. Nonetheless, faith is short of direct experience until the aspirant realizes God for himself. Right? So, it is not for nothing that all religions are referred to as faiths. One of the essentials of the aspirant's life is that he should have faith. Faith may express itself through diverse forms, but from the psychological point of view, they are one and the same thing and cannot be diversely labeled. The only differences in faith are differences of degree. Faith may be strong and vital, or weak and lukewarm. A weak and lukewarm faith does not carry a person further than adherence to rituals and ceremonies. But a strong and vital faith is bound to take the aspirant beyond the external forms of religion, helping him to eschew the husk and get at the kernel of true spiritual life. Faith reaches its natural climax and goal when it comes to rest in one's own master. We'll end with the story of Kalyan. Story of Kalyan. The faith of the disciple must always be securely grounded in his experience of the divinity of the master. He must not be like a straw carried anywhere by the slightest breeze. He should be like a rock that remains unmoved in the severest of storms. The story of Kalyan brings out the meaning of a really sound faith in the master. Kalyan was a disciple of Swami Ramdas Samarth, who was a perfect master at the time of Shivaji. A master loves all disciples alike, but some might be particularly dear to him, just as an individual loves all parts of his body, though the eyes may be more dear to him than his fingers. Swami Ramdas Samarth had many disciples, but his favorite was Kalyan. The other disciples did not quite understand why Kalyan should be dearer to the master than the others. One day, Swami Ramdas tested the devotion of his disciples. He asked all his disciples to come to him and pretended to be so sick as to be on the point of death. He had placed a mango on the joint of his knee and bound it in a bandage so that it looked like a huge swelling. Swami Ramdas pointed to this swelling and told the disciples that it was a malignant tumor and that there was no chance of his living unless someone sucked the poison from the joint of his knee. At the same time, he made it clear to all that whoever sucked out the poison would die instantaneously. Then he asked whether any disciple was prepared to suck out the poison from the swelling at the cost of his own life. All the disciples hesitated except Kalyan, who arose immediately and began to suck from the swelling. To his surprise, Kalyan found sweet mango juice and not poison, and Swami Ramdas praised his unswerving faith and self-denying love. To be willing to die for the happiness of the beloved is true love. Such implicit faith, unfaltering love, and undivided loyalty as that of Kalyan can come to the disciple only through the grace of the master. So with that, we will stop here and continue on the next Saturday. Amazing story. I think we have read this earlier.
Yeah, one of the things I would like to mention is there is a chapter called Qualifications of the Aspirant. There are 4 parts to it, and the 4th part is called Faith. It's a chapter dedicated on this word called faith or belief. And I going to repeat again. Baba said very clearly, there are three kinds of faith. Faith in oneself. Second, faith in the perfect master. And third, faith in life. So whatever is happening, so I used to wonder about, I could understand about the self and about the master. It is the, what is the perfect master? He's the personal form of God. The aspect that has form, human form, is the master or avatar. Whereas faith in yourself is the impersonal form of God, the formless aspect, state 2B. So here he is talking state 2B as number one, oils, our innermost loving self. Number two, faith in the perfect master, state 2C, that is Sadguru and the avatar, what they call as the Vijnan Bhumika divine office, from which they operate when they are living in human form and directing the affairs of the world. But the third thing was very interesting. I would love for you guys to kind of ponder on this, faith in life. What does that mean? How to interpret that? So, Jai Baba.
That's a good food for thought. In fact, the three types of faith itself are food for thought for us to reflect upon. And we can continue this discussion when we start off next weekend. Yeah. All right. Everybody have a great week ahead. Jai Baba and much love to all of you.
Jai Baba. Jai Baba. Jai Baba,
Jai
everyone.
Baba.
Jai Baba.
Jai Baba, everybody.
Jai Baba.
Jai Baba.
Bye bye, everybody.
Jai